I'm gonna post this link on Facebook. Let's see if anybody wanna talk trash with us tonight.
Matter of fact, let me get in my comfy chair. Get this charger. This charger has issues. Look it up right here. Making sure we sit so I can sit down. You know how it is. Gotta get comfortable, especially on these.
So folks, my brother Charles and I'm in DC, both Oklahoma, and very passionate post regarding MLK Day. And I was like, we should talk about this to the Saints, even though they're probably asleep because tomorrow is the day off. So Charles is going to read his post, and then we're going to talk about it. And if you have any questions, you can ask questions at hashtag T2M via Facebook. I'm not on Twitter right now, so don't tweet them. But ask them on Facebook or on YouTube. So, okay, go ahead, Charles.
Okay. Right now. I'm going slow as I'll get out. There we go. Okay. So I wrote, every year I have trouble with Martin Luther King Day, not because I don't like the idea of honoring, not because I desire to shame his exploits and immorality behind closed doors either. We all have skeletons in the closet, and we too will be responsible for our actions one day. I struggle for another reason. Every year I watch this day be politicized and diluted into an image of MLK, but not the authentic person. The audacity of people who would hate him 100 times more than Kaepernick if he were alive. The hollow quotes and speech resuscitations fall on closed ears in a society that still refuses to change to this very day. We have fallen into the trap of honoring the deluded idol of MLK, but are still failing to walk out the work that he strove for. Being a yes man, a gatekeeper, and a token has become an accepted thing, and it's a travesty. We're deluded. We fell for the trap of urban renewal. We got gentrification, physically and mentally. But how do we get out of it? That's the post. For me, it's like I had to stop process, and I wrote a status before that, and I said, "Can I really say what I want to say? Can I be real?" And Rashad said no, and we've talked about it before. You know, society is so shallow. It's so face value, so surface. We really can't say a whole lot of what we really want to say a lot of times because people aren't ready for it half the time. They're not ready to hear things that might check them, that might cause them to go out of the norm, that might cause them to change in any way. Nobody wants nobody telling them nothing. Nobody wants to feel like they're not doing what they need to do. They just want the yes, the oh yeah, you got this award or you got this thing. Let's clap for this person. Let's do this. But our communities are still in shambles. That's not okay. And that's basically my thought. What are you thinking, Rashad?
So, kind of conflicted for a couple of reasons. So, very important. Forefront of people's memories, certain events, certain costs people have in the front of their mind what we need to stay away from. because of the way our country idolizes certain character traits, masses of people, or if people really understand the essence of Martin Luther King as a legacy. People often jump to the whole, oh, he, preached or instructed folks to be nonviolent, to be good boys. I remember in high school, I was in AP US History. History book is was the American Pageant. The American Pageant is still volumes 1 and 2, or up until 1865 and then 1865 through present. The two editions of it, or 2 volumes of the book, still being used on college campuses, still being used in across the country. And in that book, I just remember Black history being taught and so little on other key figures and greats and first of the Black community, or of Black and brown African Americans being displayed in that textbook on Martin Luther King.
Hmm.
As if he's the only Black person in the history of the country that thing or helped or has made any sense, which isn't true.
Right.
Like, and we definitely don't see it as that, but because of the way it's taught, that can be perceived. Is I remember in college, I went to the University of South Carolina for a little bit, and we had this thing called the diversity retreat. And I remember there was a young lady who had some deep-seated issues, like she was she had by a white family, may have not been like exploring her sexuality. She had some atheist tendencies. She had a whole lot of resolved issues going on. And she should not be leading any session at this retreat because she needed her behind to be sitting in the chair to get some love on her.
Exactly.
Get to this piece that's important to me and guides my politics and my thought process is my faith. My faith is very important to me, and it has helped me mentally. Nobody can stop playing with that microphone. Oh, but like my faith is really important to me. So I was talking about my faith and how my faith has helped guide my politics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you not talk about the Bible or Jesus or whatever? Reason by God would be the Muslim name, wisdom. Same, even though I can understand how in America who choose not to read and who choose not to think outside of could think that Rashad was a Muslim name. And I'm not Muslim. And shout out to the folks who are Muslim. Love y'all, but I'm not. So it is what it is. And we then got into, then it literally became, as usual, it's always the world versus Rashad. Nothing new here. 10 people in my cohort, plus the instructor, they're trying to beat it into me as why Martin Luther King was so great. And I'm sitting there like, I never said he wasn't great. Political hero. And I said, I rock with Malcolm X. So I was like, but and of course in the cohort were like 8 black people, 1 white person, and maybe like 1 Asian person. And of course, everybody in the group hates, and when I say hates, I mean hates the very thought of Malcolm X, but adores everything about Martin Luther King. First of all, neither one of them were perfect. Let's be clear.
Right.
Neither one were perfect. Um, but we get to choose what we like in people and what we don't. Because black people have been brainwashed, like anyone in Black America who, like, it's okay for you to not be the biggest fan of Malcolm X, but don't discredit the work that this man did that helped move the envelope to get us the
Exactly.
small measure of success that we've achieved.
Exactly.
Celebrate includes a degradation of X celebrating the, like, because like even though the holiday is named after Martin Luther King, what it really is awesome black figures day. It is amazing black leaders day. It is a day to celebrate people who got their behinds kicked, lost their jobs, got kicked out of school, lost their families, killed, ostracized, defamed, libeled, slandered, disparaged, characters assassinated,
Mm-hmm.
so that you could be black in America today, and so that gay people could be gay in America today, and Asian people could be Asian in America today, and Latino and Hispanic people could be brown in America today, and people from the Middle East could be tan in America today. People could immigrate to America today, and white people who love black people and other people who not white could love black people and other people who not white in America today.
Right.
It's a celebration and the resilience of people on the government is being considered.
Right.
The like we literally like people really do believe that like Abraham Lincoln never told a lie, and George Washington really chopped down the cherry tree or apple tree, whatever that mess was they taught us in first grade. Like America has this whole good boy, bad boy system, like ingrained in people,
Mm-hmm.
that in order for you to celebrate one, you have to have an antagonist. And I'm just not here for that because A, it logically doesn't make sense, but it also is very detrimental to our community. You can't celebrate Martin Luther King without celebrating a Malcolm X. Just like you can't celebrate a Frederick Douglass or W.B. Du Bois without celebrating Booker T. Washington.
Right.
You know, you can't celebrate any of these people without acknowledging the NAACP. Any of these people without acknowledging a Mary McLeod Bethune, without acknowledging a Dorothy Height. You can't celebrate anything without acknowledging Delta Sigma Theta. You can't. There are just certain things you can't do because you go down a rabbit hole of awesomeness. Celebrate the awesomeness of Martin Luther King without celebrating the greats before him,
Right.
the greats during the time when he was on this earth, and the ones who have pushed the envelope even further. You can't. Just saying. Amazing, by the way. Charles, you still there?
Yeah. Yeah. It started trying to mess up on me, but I fixed it. So
Still there?
yeah. Can you hear me now? You good? Are we good? Hold on. Let me make sure I got this thing connected. That's the other thing. It's cutting my bandwidth. Hear me?
You now.
Okay, good. So I love that, and I was able to hear everything he was talking about. I love that Because I am not one of those people that thinks that we have to paint this perfect picture for all of our leaders for them to have been leaders. When we learned about Martin Luther King, he was next to Jesus.
Not in my
I'm so
household.
tired of that.
Not in my household, because we was learned black people. We knew he cheated on Coretta. We knew about the FBI wiretaps. We knew about all that.
See, we wasn't told that. Not in Oklahoma.
Ain't nobody told y'all to go out there to Oklahoma. Y'all should have stayed over here by this good Atlantic water.
But out here, they man, it was a mess. It was a mess. But I was out of high school when I learned that he cheated on Coretta, that he did all the things that he did. And I learned the real person.
For it.
And that it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Oh man, when I finally started learning some of the things about Malcolm, it was an eye-opening thing for me, because even going to a black school, he wasn't really praised or really talked about, nowhere a tenth of MLK. And that, now that I think about it from my role of understanding, that's ridiculous. Dang, it really is trying to cut my bandwidth. That's trash. Do you hear me? Hold on one second. This thing is acting up now.
I'm catching like every other word, bro.
Okay, hold on. Let me fix this thing. It's really acting up on me. Trying to check my bandwidth stuff. Matter of fact, hold on one second. Okay, hold on. Let me fix this.
It ain't safe. It ain't safe. It ain't safe. It ain't safe.
It ain't taking nothing. What is it gonna do?
Charles, you know we live on the air, right?
There we go. Now we really gonna have good connection. Because I took it all the way off of everything. There we go. Good internet come through. There we go. It's a lot more constant now. Okay.
Well, we're excited.
There we go. So, but yeah, like it wasn't, Malcolm was like only taught a tenth of what Martin Luther King, like what we learned from about Martin Luther King in my school. Like we watched all of them doggone cartoon movies about Martin Luther King, all of that. That was like the norm. Even, and I was going to a black school. That's how ridiculous that is. There had to be, like, being in Oklahoma, we weren't learning about Black Wall Street. Being in Oklahoma,
and it happened there.
Exactly. And like, I didn't learn that until I took Black history in high school. That's ridiculous. You know, those kind of things, they create, like, think about the mindset, the psyche of a young Black student as you growing up, thinking that all these white people saved us and all these white people did all this good stuff for us. That's why we here, and we kind of, it automatically just puts in your mind like a psyche of are we going to even get to the point of where Martin was when it came to how white people adore him? But then of course.
So my question for you is, like, why is that the eye line? Why is that the vantage point? Why is that the goal?
Because like when you're in school and you only learn about Martin Luther King, you only learn about a little about Malcolm X, you only learn a little bit about Rosa Parks, you only learn a little bit about, let's see who else, Booker T, you only learn a little bit about Frederick, you only learn about the one-hit wonders that white people always point to their whole journeys. but you don't even learn the whole journey of who they are and what they accomplished and what they endured and what they walked through. And if that's the only beacon of Black hope that you got, like what are you gonna what do you really have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes other than that sometimes Black teacher that you deal with?
So I remember being in
Basically the
college.
beacon of like role models. It wasn't that many to pick from.
Right. So I remember being in college, and I remember someone telling me that it's like, oh, well, you probably know more because you read books and done research. If you're using that as the basis as why I know more about the contrast of these two men than you do, you're going to like stand in my face and yell and scream and and just do what you do um with without doing any research, without doing any knowledge, like acting as if the media has never told any lies or have truth, incidentally or intentionally, like accidentally or intentionally, acting like we don't know that people have been, had cases stacked against them and playing it against them, and you're acting as if we don't know that everything doesn't have a resemblance or a chance to be a lie. To me, that makes no sense. Like, how can you justify your ignorance when you know that there's a strong possibility that everything you've been taught has a different meaning to it? Walk around blindly, abundance, but you choose to walk around blindly, eyes, have truths, act, and then you want to call yourself an intellectual. I, I'm confused. I heard somebody to pick up a book.
That's real. That's real. When my outlets for learning about a lot more about Black culture and about Black history came to me personally in middle school because my mom had a Black bookstore. And so when she started giving me certain books to read and certain things to look at, like I read a couple of T.D. Jakes books. I read about the burning about Black Wall Street. I read like several books about Black Wall Street. And then there was just different ones that she would give me that taught me different things. And then I had to memorize some of the inventions and some of the inventors and all of that kind of stuff. That started to paint a different picture of there's a lot of other things accessible for me than what has been portrayed to me, through my life. When I was going, because, I first went to, the magnet schools where it's mostly white kids, but they're testing the smart kids for this and this and this and this. But they're only teaching you certain particular things. They're not trying to, really give you the wholesome education. Of course, we know now that that I understand now that the United States history was taught from the victor's point of view, the true point of view. It took a lot of things that I had to go search by myself that was outside of classrooms, like you're talking about, to really go. And it got to the point I started calling, like a teacher would say something, I'll be like, no, that's not true because this and this and this and this and this. And I got in trouble for that in high school. I was going to an all-white school at that point. And I had to leave the school. I transferred because it got bad. because they were trying to teach me things, and I was like, no, 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 sit down there. And for me, at that point, I was really emboldened, so I didn't care. So I was gonna say my piece, and you was gonna hear what the real was, and they didn't want to hear the real. And so it came to a head, and I actually kept getting suspended. School. I started to hate school and all that kind of stuff. And then my mom said, "No, you coming back home. You coming back to school over here." And it was the best change I ever had. We had Black History. We actually talked about like actual Black history. Um, the unfiltered history is how I called it, and it changed my whole view, and it changed my whole direction that I was even going on in life at that time. And so I hold that real dearly about learning what's going on in the history.
So I'm feel you on that. Like I went to private school, and when I did switch over to public school, schools where wasn't huge. And then I ended up graduating from a public high school that had a good bit of people of different complexions in the school, but different complexions that happened to be my particular complexion on the other side of town. And then in my classes, that looked like me, maybe two at the most, me and one other person. So Iraq people were in club meetings after school, a couple of the athletic teams, so I would see Black people then. Lunch. I would fit my friends at lunch. And then at church on the weekends. And then depending on which group of Black people I was interacting with, might have not been a pleasurable experience because they didn't see me during the school day. So like they see me ride the bus with them. They see me walk in the same doors as them. They see me at lunch and they see me after school. And it's like when you're in honors and gifted and talented and AP and IB programs, advanced placement, international baccalaureate, you are probably not in classes person attending schools where the numbers aren't necessarily equal. And even if they are equal, there's a strong possibility that you may be the only Black person in some of those classes.
Yeah, very true.
And if you aren't the only Black person, you're definitely one of very few. And so, the experiences can be a little bit different, but I remember my AP US history class, and I love the teacher, Mr. Willer. White guy, military guy, married a Black woman, had a biracial child, loved Black people. And then I remember when we did the session on slavery, he actually brought in cotton to the class. And before he did it, he made the announcement that we're going to be picking cotton. He was like, and if any of your parents have a problem with it, blah, blah, blah. He was like, Rashad, you don't have to do this assignment. I said, oh, I wasn't. And he's like, as a matter of fact, you don't even have to come to class that day. I said, I'm not coming to class that whole week. That's what we're not doing. And I didn't. I walked my happy behind the Chick-fil-A. That was before we were not supposed to eat Chick-fil-A. But I mean, Chick-fil-A gave me money to go to college. So y'all can shut up. Just want to put that out there. Because I worked for Chick-fil-A when I was in college, and they gave me some good scholarship money. And if any of y'all want to pay, Sally Mae, I can gladly boycott with y'all. But until then, they gave me 5 G's a semester. So we're gonna let God be God, and y'all shut up. But with that being said, we're faced with a difficult task because it's like, when do you do it for the culture, and then when do you look out for yourself? And I think that's where the narrative has to move to, because like this isn't about people who are dead anymore, and this is not about people who are dying.
Right.
Um, this right now is about real life, blood, flesh, minds, hearts, and what we are going to do, if anything can be done, to propel our race forward and make life easier for our children and make life better for our grandchildren
Right.
and make life uh perfect for our great grandchildren and their children. And so the conversation has this, to stretch. I spent 11 years in the Young Democrats of America and doing a whole lot of foolishness. I took hits so that other black people didn't have to. There are a lot of black people in the organization who have achieved some levels of success because there was another black person that was the most hated yet anticipated, so that they could go on and shine. And it's like, so I see this argument from both sides. Like, but I don't know if, I guess I'm like, if your success means the detriment of somebody else who looks like you or for your people, is that really success or was that a payoff?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I'm not pointing at anybody in that organization. I could just think of very specific cases and things that I went through and that I endured or other people endured, so that the spotlight wouldn't be on somebody else. The negative energy wouldn't be on somebody else. And these people were able to do some great things. But in life, you know, I wonder how the people who ran the studios, the Jewish people who ran the studios, the recording studios, that didn't get killed, that didn't get harassed and taunted, I wonder how they felt for Hitler's entertainment, knowing that there are people suffering. Like, every time, you remember the show Underground? Did you watch
Yeah.
Underground?
Yeah. I watched a
Like,
couple of episodes.
okay, Kato's character, like clearly Kato was out there for himself, but how many people now are there like, oh well, those kids, and I listen to like some older people, or like people with money, and I listen to them talk about like Black Lives Matter and the kids who are protesting, like, oh, they need to shut up, it's nothing like this, or blah blah blah, and they make these comparisons that don't make any sense, and it's like, no, they're fighting the same fight, they're just doing it a different way. And yeah, they're an organized, and that's okay, because y'all ain't have it all together either. Back in the
Right.
40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s, y'all
Right.
had some riots.
They forgot about their guerrilla tactics.
Bunch of people getting shot up, killed, swinging from trees, getting dog sicked on them, get the fire hydrants on them, buses ran up to them. People snatched up out their house, people thrown in jail, disappeared at night. I mean, like, y'all had a whole bunch of, I mean, like, what you?
Right. It was worse.
But it's like when people arrive or when they get comfortable, their
That's
mindset
exactly what I
changes.
was thinking. That's exactly what I was
Because
thinking.
if you walk the Edmund Pettus Bridge and you don't see a parallel to a Ferguson or a Baltimore or a Sanford or any other community that's been a Dallas or any other community that's been under siege
Somewhere you
in these
dropped off.
last 5 years, what are you smoking? Like, do you need some weed for your glaucoma and your cataracts? Because clearly your eyes are blinded if you don't see parallelisms. And I'm not really sure like where we're gonna go as a people if we still invoke or participate in this good boy versus bad boy mentality, because we didn't create that.
Right.
and you invoke speakers into it. It seems like, whiteness became the standard that black people wanted to achieve. I mean, like, colorism is so huge in our community. First of all, colorism didn't start with us.
Right.
Like, slave masters and people during that time didn't call it colorism, but they put that mindset over our people that where whiteness was the thing to attain, whiteness was this perfection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how people go from knowing that people in the area of Mesopotamia, which would be where the Tigris and Euphrates are, the Middle East, is where civilization began, allegedly. The oldest fossil ever been found on the country, Lucy, was found in Africa. So clearly that's where civilization began. Clearly the Bible tells you that Jesus had skin that was bronze and hair that was woolly like a lamb. I don't know how people think that Jesus is white. I don't know how people think that angels are white with blonde hair. But that is the image that we put out, and people have accepted that as like that's the goal to attain. So if you're anything for, I mean, I just had a conversation this morning, dispelling the myth that because people are dark skinned that they're less. I mean, like, you got so much foolishness out there, and I think people subconsciously let those things drop down into their spirit. They subconsciously take on those mindsets and those forms.
Yep.
And they become a pattern of life for them or a way of life for them, unbeknownst to them. Unbeknownst to them. Like, and they actually think that it's okay. And then you're wrong for saying, no, this isn't right. Or no, I don't agree with that. So as long as I'm going with the program, everything is perfect and copacetic. The moment that I have a difference of opinion, see things differently, hear things differently, value things differently, the moment that happens, then I'm a bad guy. I'm ungrateful. I am a nigger. I am any other slur or disrespectful term that you name.
Right.
That has a dark voice and southern drawl and thick tongue, and has a little bit of weight on him. Angry black to do white women and little girls. I am now a womanizer and a misogynist, or I'm racist. It's reverse racism. It's like all of these things. Like, if they can't get you with one piece, it's like a whole litany of things that they try to throw on you. And of course, none of it sticks. But there's damage that's already been done.
Yeah,
so that's the world that we live in now. And you got black people who, think that that's okay because they think that it won't happen to them. I've been one of those people. I situations, high school, that I wasn't the most vocal when I could have been or should have been. I had found my voice yet. I don't know if I didn't trust my voice or if I just, didn't know if it was my place. But there are things in when it comes to other things as black people trying to be the one. I'm not proud of. I remember in high school, one of my favorite teachers, Miss Mary Suber, did not like her when she was my teacher. Loved the mess out of her afterwards, though. Cause she was something else. She used to let me have it. And I remember one day she asked me, like, somebody asked me what my goal was, and I was like, I want to be the number one black in my class, and I'm going to law school. And she was like, say that again. I said, I want to be the number one black. She was like, why don't you just want to be number one? Well, first of all, I didn't know black people could be number one and not get killed. But she was so bothered that I said I wanted to be the number one black. She said, your goal shouldn't be to be the number one black. Your goal should be to be number one, period. You cannot go through life only trying to be good enough to beat other black people. And I remember when that hit me, like when I thought about what you said and it hit me, I was so embarrassed because my entire life, up until I was like 16 and a half, 17, that had been my mindset. Just be the number one black. It's kind of hard for that not to be your mindset when you're only black in a lot of places. Did to me and competing world. And I didn't know black people could compete against the world. Stupid. Aiken, South Carolina. Trust me, I know better. My world was mine for the. I thought that there was a piece of the pie that was served on that piece of the pie. I didn't know. And we have to get out of that mindset. So detrimental. And I promise you, it seemed like that we all hell broke loose, something crazy ever since. Something crazy. Sorry. I'm not lying, man. Oh God. You were in Dallas, you saw it. Like it's been something crazy.
Yeah, we had some moments.
So my prediction for tomorrow is that people still won't get it. And we're gonna have a whole bunch of memes though. Like it's gonna be an amazing meme day.
A bunch of good quote days. Everybody gonna put their reverend hat on, and they gonna think they put something real good out there that's gonna connect something real quick, and they gonna dip, and then they gonna go back to hanging out in life like nothing's changed, like we still not free yet.
I agree.
And I'm gonna be annoyed by 1 p.m. and I'm just gonna chill by myself the rest of the day probably. Because it's something that we have to. I mean, there are those of us that are understanding that are breaking out of that mold of the apathy of the trying to be the best black person, trying to prove that black can be accepted, trying to prove that black is relevant in with success, and to even talk about what you were saying about earlier about the what we had talked about, basically the line between black effectiveness and black excellence.
Right.
It's so annoying to look at individuals that want to be they may not even want to be, but what it makes it look is if they want to be the lone star. And we got enough superstars in our culture right now. We have a lot of superstars. We worship so many of them that's passed away, and we'll never forget them. They get recognized every birthday. They get recognized every, all those things. But what is the general impact that we're making that we need to have them uphold? What the effectiveness that there needs to be that should connect with that honor? What has that pushed forward in our culture as people? And I can't answer that question. Like, we're still getting shot dead on the streets. Some of us still can't vote. Some of us still can't eat and have a life. We still have a shorter life expectancy than every other race. We're still sick as can be and catching every disease possible by astronomical rates, and we're supposed to have some of the best health outcomes in the world. What are we doing? What are we doing this for? What are we accomplishing all these awards? Now we want every award at every award ceremony. We basically winning them all. What are we doing with that? What have we really achieved when 60 to 70% of our brethren are still like it's the 60s?
Come on, brethren.
I don't get that. Like, I deal with people who lived in houses that should be condemned. I deal with people who live in houses with no electricity. I deal with people who borrow water from their neighbor, or they wait for the waterman to go cut the water off and they go cut it back on. What are we doing? What changes are we doing? Now we taking all these public offices. We taking all these public offices, but nothing's happening.
So
Baltimore got how many black elected officials?
Don't even get me started about Baltimore.
And what we doing?
Only thing Baltimore can do for me is give me a crab cake. Okay, that's about it. And let me tell you something. I'm trying to remember where I was. You said you hit a nerve with that. Oh, Hidden Figures. And I remember how everybody got real crunk 2 points last year when Olivia and Daddy Byron on Scandal had to quote 3 times as hard for half as much. Now, growing up, it was 2 times as hard for half as much.
Right.
But we'll do the 3 times for dramatic effect.
Right.
But Big Mama may say 3 times. Y'all know she did. But we're going to go with that, Shonda, because we rock with you. But then in Hidden Figures, what homegirl said? Every time we get close, they move the finish line.
Mm.
So at first, black people couldn't get elected to office. Now that black people get elected to office and can influence voting, now elected officials don't have any more power.
Mm.
Now it's the chamber. And, you know, the donors and the elite, you know, hiding behind the curtains, running the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, elected officials don't hold the power that people think they hold. Right. Somebody got power, but they don't. You know, there once was a time where black people couldn't run campaigns and could only volunteer. Now that black people can volunteer and run campaigns and strategy, now campaign managers don't have the power. Now it's all consultants, and I mean, I got people in here talking about they got campaign chairs. Donald Trump came up with that crap. Y'all really gonna follow a practice by Donald Trump? How come you got a campaign chair? What the kind of foolishness is that? And now everybody has a black campaign manager, but you got 30 consultants and paid strategists, and you got a whole campaign board.
And they don't know nothing half the time.
Nothing. And so it's like you literally have every time black people or people of color from different ethnicities and backgrounds and stuff get close to something or achieve something, there's a shift in power. There's a huge shift in power. So now, yeah, we got black mayors everywhere. We got black city council members, county commissioners. Hell, before you know it, all the governors gonna be black. And watch the governors not have no power.
Because I think, and it's one thing I was thinking about the other day, we talk too much. We talk too much. We tell the whole plan before we even started on step 1.
Can't spell step.
And they didn't went and change the whole board game, but we think we still supposed to stop and get our $200.
Do not pass go.
and they don't realize like I have people right now, you know, of course I'm getting ready to run and stuff, and I'm getting annoyed because people keep coming to me telling me for city council. For city council in Tulsa. City council District 3 in Tulsa.
Well,
in Tulsa, of course. And I have people that tell
Also,
me
what? Wyoming?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay, the same say no. And what's your
Yeah, and
name?
Charles Wilkes. I mean, hit me up. You know, I'm on all social medias if we're gonna do a full plug like that. But I get tired of people that keep telling me, you got to play the game. You got to play the game. You got to
What
play the
game?
game. I ain't coming to play no games. I'm not here to hang out. I'm not here to waste the time of what I know needs to be done. I'm here to make this change and get out and go on about my business. And we got too many people that they have become in love with the side dishes, with the side dishes of the meal, but the main course sitting there going cold.
Come to the sides.
That's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work ever. It was never intended to work. And I know because I say this all the time in the aspect of economics, blacks have been free and out of the civil rights era for 50 years. So how can you expect us to have caught up with the basic white nation who's been here 400 plus? I understand that. That's cool. We got that. But we've caught a lot of strides and made a lot of effort to have dang near caught up in a lot of stuff. But now it's
Very
starting
short
to
amount of
get to exactly, like 4 times over. But now we're getting to the point that we're in our own way. Our own people are in our own way. The gatekeepers is at the door. They the doorman. They the ones telling us go play the game. They're the ones telling us, oh, you gotta do this to be able to do this. You gotta have this specific degree. You gotta have this specific thing on your resume. You gotta have this specific notch on your belt. You gotta have worked with this person, or you gotta have came from this fraternity, or you gotta have went to this school, or you gotta have done all these stupid things. And not to disrespect nobody's, institution or know all these other things, but the fact that we have to compartmentalize our culture to have said that we've arrived at something is bullcrap to me. It's bullcrap. And as long as we keep doing that and we keep separating our block by block by block, separating success and what's not success, and you this and you ain't got this, do you got your house, or do you got your kids, or do you got this, do you got this, by
what we gonna do
this,
for tomorrow? What we
I'm gonna go to this little parade, and I'm actually meeting with some young people that may have some. Can you hear me?
I think you're frozen.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Hold on. It's doing it again. Hold on. Let me get it right. It is now messing me up again. I think it got slow again.
Charles, I think your Wi-Fi tired.
Yeah, it's getting on my nerves. It really is. It really is.
We got to knock it out because it's midnight my time. I got to be up at 7. Be downtown. Reverend Jackson is.
I heard that.
We ain't catch none of that.
You said what?
None of that. Your Wi-Fi had froze.
For real? You ain't catch none of what I had said?
I know it was good too. I know
it was. Boy.
You ain't done laid out.
Basically, I was talking about how we compartmentalize our culture and have not realized that as long as we separated into this fraternity or this sorority, into this school or into this success thing on your resume or these particular things that you got to do, we're not going to get nothing done. We're not going to get nothing done, period. Or we're going to keep spinning our heels, keep crying how we ain't got no money, we ain't got no resources, we ain't got no land, we ain't got the right business, we ain't got the right this, we ain't got the right that. And those of us that will we, still keeping the right mindset, we're gonna create our little armies and come take over.
Well, my prayer is that the armies fail not,
That's
because
it.
the Bible say that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
That's it.
And then the word takes it a step further. Know those that labor among you.
That's it.
And then it takes it another step further and says that a workman, a skilled, crafted workman, is worthy of his hire. He or she is worthy of their pay. So I'm not really sure if it's a lot of people that's ready to go to war. There's not a lot of people out here who are ready to make sacrifices. And there are sacrifices. There are costs to attain certain things.
That's it.
I'm not sure if everybody's ready for that, because if the goal is for you to get ahead, and the goal isn't for people to be better off than they were before you started whatever you were doing, you're not helping. And there are a lot of people right now who aren't helping, but we can talk about them on another show.
Come on.
But
Can we do a show about Black Republicans next?
Yeah, and I know one to invite because I really like it. We'll invite him. We'll see what happens.
I think that'll be a great show.
That is scary, but we can do something. We can do something. Well, I'm Rashad.
Charles Wilkes here.
This is Charles is running for city council in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we need to make sure we support him. But what are you doing tomorrow for King Day, Charles?
I'm walking in the parade. I usually walk at the front of the parade. I'm going to meet with some young men that want to connect politically and want to be active. I'm going to give them the Reader's Digest version of Don't Be a Token.
Well, I hope your Wi-Fi don't go down when you're talking to them.
Oh, no, we meeting face to face. So we're going to have some real convo. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. I'm going to have to restart this whole thing up. It's acting
and tell nobody to stop playing with that microwave. That bomb about to go off.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to make do that this day tomorrow.
Tomorrow I got a half a day. I'm going to with a civil rights leader. I'm not going to the parade. I've done the parade the past 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Doing a planning session for the Progressive Leadership Summit that'll be happening in April-ish of this year. We've selected a location.
Okay.
It's gonna be Atlanta, Georgia.
I might have to come through.
You got to come. You on the committee.
Oh no.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm excited. It's gonna be great.
All right, now.
And I thought I'd be doing some planning for that tomorrow. But yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful day. I'm looking forward to King Day, Meme Day. It's gonna be awesome.
My God, the Saints gonna be heavy on Facebook, and Black Twitter gonna be saintly. Bro. It's gonna be the Saints.
I just can't wait to see the memes with people standing behind podiums and pulpits with an MLK quote on there.
Oh my God. Or looking into the wind, or looking at the sun,
bro.
Or the background of the city behind them.
Half stride, walking across the street, foot in the air. Really? But hey, I am here to let people be great.
That's it. That's it.
If this is what makes you great, I am here for it. Do you? You be great. I'm gonna do some work.
That's it.
That's all I'm gonna say. But thank y'all for joining us. Not really sure how often this is gonna happen, but I feel like these conversations are healthy. We used to do this a lot. I haven't done this in a while. It felt good getting
Oh
back
yeah.
into it. Yeah, I used to do this a whole lot back in my prime before I got old and had to get a real job because
Man, look, your best days are before you.
this. Let me tell you something. My heart goes out to every young organizer and activist who is great, whether it's their community, their home, their church, their state, their college campus, dorm, fraternity, sorority, whatever people out there organizing folks and compelling folks to do great work. I'm excited for them and proud of them, and I love them, and I wish them the best. But at some point in this journey, you have to consider yourself. And Lord, I can't tell you how many cars I went through in the last 10, 11 years campaigning and organizing folks and communities and chiefs of police and National Guardsmen and doing all of this work dipping across the country, um, trying to help and save and be a part and do all this great stuff. And you can't forget to invest in yourself.
That's it.
And at some point I was just like, dude, I'm getting old. I'm trying no more. You know how many Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas dinners I missed with my family, and then I lost my. And I was just like, man, I wish I had a not did that. I wish I had a prioritized differently so that I could not miss, this family funeral or this wedding or the family reunion or reunion with classmates and friends. It's just like you do so much trying to help the culture and the community and the world and all of these things, but you have to consider yourself too.
Yes.
And so my prayer for the folks out there who are making it happen every day: take a day for yourself, take a week for yourself. Go home, visit your family, go visit your friends, recharge, go play with your god babies, your nieces and nephews. Let them teach you the new dances because you probably don't know them. And you go to the club, you still doing, stuff they was doing 20 years ago because you ain't been to the club in 10 years. You don't even know because you been knocking doors and registering voters. Go to church, you ain't church out no more. They don't even shot where they you.
Lord.
Do something for you. I'm here doing this because you don't want to, 10 years pass and it's like there's so many things that you can miss if you're not careful. And I don't know if this political and community work allows people to really have that great balance that people want to pretend they got. Because social media be doing it all. They're amazing husbands and wives, and they're doctors and lawyers, and they're elected officials, and they got it all together.
Until that big fall happened.
You're great until you're not.
Come on.
You are great until you're not. And it's like social media gives people false false mantles to walk under and to wear, and no one has it all together. No one doing it all and killing it at every single thing. That's not possible. If it were, you'd be Jesus. And Enoch was perfect and he was taken on up out of here.
That's it.
That's what the words say. I know y'all don't read the Bible, but that's what the words say. And so I'm encouraging folks, take a day for you. Take some time for you. You need it. You deserve it. Because this work is heavy. Take a mental health day. If you got insurance, go use them 12 sessions and get you that good free counselor. You got to pay the $2 copay. You go everything on that couch. Go lay on that and weigh them out. Tell yourself, if your insurance give you acupuncture, look like a porcupine, it don't matter. Just go. Don't clear your head. Take care of yourself. And that's the problem. People don't take care of themselves, and then they drive themselves into depression, and they drive themselves into mental and emotional, illnesses and things. Like people got to take care of them. This work is heavy. You can't stand there and argue with the likes of a Donald Trump every single day, day in and day out, and that not take no wear and tear on your soul.
We can't.
It don't work like that. So y'all go take care of yourself. Charles, I love you, brother. Tell Jasmine I
Love you too,
said,
sir.
and we will talk again soon, folks. I don't know when we're doing this again, but we're gonna do it soon. We missed y'all, even though ain't nobody jump on tonight. It's okay. Next time we gonna promote it. We're gonna have at least 2 people on here watching and talking to us.
Oh yeah.
Still love you.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
All right now.
Charles, that was fun.
It was.